AEW Dynamite Homecoming. This was, again, a show that took place from Jacksonville, Florida. And it kicked off with the third chapter in the 5 labors of Jericho, Juventud Guerrero versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had to win this match by using a top rope maneuver. Now, before we get into more of the details, what did you think overall of this match?
A good way to start, right? I mean, let's get this Juventud Guerrero nostalgia, to hype up the crowd. And ideally there's, high flying involved because of the stipulation. So, yeah, I mean, I felt good going into this and coming out of it. It was fine. I don't think this was anything that, we'll be talking about for years to come or anything. I mean, this wasn't like a 5-star match, but I was like, all right, I'm kind of
here.
Continue. We'll talk more about my waning feelings.
Okay, because I thought this was sad.
Oh, yeah.
This was really sad. Juventud Guerrera, again, came in, did his thing. I think him and Jericho had maybe some timing issues as far as the match. It didn't look, sometimes you have like a Stan Hansen match or a Vader match where it's sloppy, but it looks like a real fight. You know what I mean? So you can be sloppy and it's okay. John Moxley can do that in today's wrestling landscape where it's not looking good, but some punches and you're like, man, might be a real fight. With this match though, first off, I don't know if Jericho's touring too much with Fozzy or is doing too many other side gigs, but he looked exhausted, worn out, bloated. He always does. Again, this isn't a diss like, oh my God, Jericho. It's just this one in particular of this string of matches. And I know there's only been 3 so far, but even before that with the Inner Circle versus Pinnacle, this was his man, we need to get you on a vacation just to get you to recharge your batteries. But I like the storytelling, right? So the storytelling of the match was good. We alluded back to some things with Jericho taking off Juventud Guerrero's mask in 98, trying to do it again in 2021. So there were some good callbacks. And I did think that the finisher was creative because he had to win with a top rope maneuver. So he hits the Judas effect. And then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to do it from the top rope. And I was like, yeah, that's what you would do. So I thought it was
from the top rope, right?
I thought it was pretty creative to get us to the finish. I just thought it should have been a little shorter and maybe 4 weeks from now and not tonight. Cause it just didn't look good.
Yeah. And then MJF's done with the commentary. He's mad. Wardlow comes out after Jericho gets the victory, beats him down. And then, we say, Wardlow's your next match. Now the twist is I'm going to be the ref. So, okay, that's a little more difficult, but I was kind of like, it's Wardlow. So we're not getting the Jericho retirement tour, I don't think, that we were discussing.
Oh, but see, and this isn't you. This is just generally speaking. That's people working themselves into a shoot where they want what they want. That's true. And it's like, you're not paying attention to what necessarily, the writers want.
Weird because it was like, well, then why was there Nick Gage? Nick Gage made sense because it was like, hey, you're not going to get past this psycho. But then it was like, Juventud? It didn't. You know what I mean? It was weird. It was like Jericho
but it was
this. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But it was a call. Again, not breaking kayfabe here for a second. It was a callback to MJF saying oh, you're just going to talk shit on this guy. Well, he actually wants to kick your ass, and I think he can. So,
but why would you think he can? You would look at him and be like, look at this guy.
I don't. Because he's beat him in the past.
Fucking Wardlow, and you've got fucking.
Yeah, but. Next week, we will see the Chapter 4, Wardlow versus Jericho with MJF as the special guest referee. This is going to be weird. I don't know how, again, they haven't told a bad story yet. As I mentioned, aesthetically, just viewing it sometimes is not the best thing, but the story on paper, if you were to write this down, it's been home runs. And so I'm not going to say that they can't get out of this, but I don't know another WWE way, non-WWE way to do this story. But again, I'm anxious for next week because they've been doing great with these first 3 matches.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. The Wardlow MJF thing, he's going to get through that, and then we're going to get MJF. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything spectacular out of that, but I guess they will have time to prove us wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Tim, we get right into heartbreak. The closest I've came to crying during a Dynamite episode is the next segment after the Jericho versus Guerrero match. We got the Dark Order being interviewed backstage, and before they can really even say anything of substance, Hangman Adam Page, right here, guys, ladies and gentlemen, Hangman Adam Page breaks up with the Dark Order. He says, I got to do this on my own. I think we need to see other people. It's not you, it's me. And what? Tim? Now we'll get into
this fits
part
though.
two.
This fits very well with the story though. Like this is who he is. He's like, I'm not good enough, man. I don't want to bring you down. That's what he did to the Elite. Now the Elite were assholes and he was better off without them, but you know. Now it's
I don't like it.
I know. It made me feel sad. You know what doesn't make me feel
Claws
sad?
up.
Sidebar, just to kind of maybe lift your spirits so you can continue through this sad story.
Yeah, okay.
The Domo guy is in the chat, and we invite anybody to join the chat that's watching live right now. Get in the chat, say what's up, tell us what you think. And, yeah, anyway, what we think about this is sadness.
I was sad. I was definitely sad, but we did get a part 2, so we'll get into that here in just a second. Mm-hmm. The next thing we got after that was a trios match, a 6-man match, however you want to say it. You got 2.0, which is the former Everrise from NXT, and Daniel Garcia, which if you've seen Daniel Garcia on Elevation, man, he had a match with Lee Johnson that is worth your time, Tim. It was really good. They took on the 3, baddest dudes, baby faces in AEW, Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, and Jon Moxley. And this was fun. If I were to book the show, again, if I have the pill, I can do it better than you, right? But I would have kicked off with this match. This was the fun. What the hell are we doing? Oh, man. Oh, I got some fun things. There's Moxley. There's Sting. Woo, woo, woo. Like, this was fun. This is a good, proper way, I thought, to, get the energy into the show.
Yeah. I just, I still don't know. Like, we hired yet another tag team.
Here's the thing I will say about that, though. And I agree with you, right? This is the land of 10,000 tag teams, but breaking kayfabe here for a quick second. We got one of our teams in hot water in the Acclaimed, right? They kind of got in some hot water on Dark with the rap that Max Caster said.
Right.
You got FTR and Santana and Ortiz tied up with their feud together. I mean, what are you going to do? Have the Young Bucks wrestle the Varsity Blondes again? Because the Best Friends are out of commission because you got Trent with the neck surgery. So I actually think, again, I don't think 2.0, as now we're calling them, is going to challenge the Young Bucks in 2 weeks' time. But I didn't hate it. I think they're a good team for someone else to beat up on to then make them look strong. I did see, because again, we live tweet also during AEW Dynamite at Table Show on Twitter, if you want to join the conversation. I saw that because they have a little bit of the Young Bucks vibe to them. And I guess they're from Canada. People wanted to call them the Canuck Bucks.
The Canuck Bucks. Yeah, they did. So when they were in NXT, I could see, I was like, look, they're going to try to get over. Like they've clearly got a charisma. They're buddies together and they've got a shtick, they're yuck guys. I think they're cool and they're snide. They got witty remarks, and so we'll see if they let them shine in AEW, and maybe they show us that hey, they should be here and others should be pushed out. But I was just like, man, if they're gonna hire everybody that gets fired from like NXT and WWE, and they're gonna need more than 1 hour Rampage, man.
That's true. And I've always thought that the perfect amount of wrestling television is an hour and a half, especially for a roster that is big as this one is and rumored to be bigger as we move forward. So I'm okay with it. Again, you also have to fill 2 hours of time for Dark. You have to fill 2 hours of time for Elevation. And so, again, I like the team because honestly, I never really watched them on NXT because their segments were when I would turn back over to Dynamite. You know what I mean? But I did like you want to take a shot at me? You want to take a shot at me? And during the match, the dark-haired guy, I liked the spot where he got starstruck by Sting, and then Darby Allin just does a suicide dive and takes him out. Thought that was fun. But what I will say was the most fun in this match was actually post-match. So, as expected, Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, Darby Allin pick up the victory. Well, as you know, Darby Allin's father always follows him to the ring, Sting, And I just thought it was so cool how Eddie Kingston was like a 10-year-old kid going like, this is fucking Sting. He legitimately said that when he put his arm around him. He goes, this is fucking Sting. And then you got Sting doing the too sweet. And then you got Moxley like, yeah, what the fuck is this? This is cooler, right? Like, those are the little moments that makes AEW fun. Because that is nothing that I don't think we're going to build to where we're going to have a new trios team. But it was a fun moment in the sun where you have, you know, CZW, Independent Pro Wrestling King, Eddie Kingston, you know, former WWE powerhouse, John Moxley, and Sting hanging out.
Here's something I thought of. I would almost at this point like them to start this idea of a trios division with trios champions, because that's an easy thing to do with, like, oh, we've got a tag team and we got a random guy. You know what I mean? We'll fit him over there. Or, oh, a tag team goes down. One guy's injured. Well, this guy can go with another guy, right? And then you can take your bloated tag team roster and kind of meld it with this trios roster and give them all something to do. So I wouldn't hate that idea of, like, more trios teams, if you will.
Yeah. Well, especially, you know, I don't know what their future is going to be, but you get like a death triangle to come out, and, you know, that would be, you know, tons of fun. So
give somebody
I wouldn't hate that at all.
Especially when you got a guy like Pac, right? Who's going to hover somewhere around your top of your card, but here it doesn't feel like you've just relegated him to the tag team. He can still lead a team of two guys and go get the trios title.
Right, exactly. So as we move forward in AEW's Dynamite's Homecoming episode, we got a backstage vignette promo. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to call it, but it was a team Taz. It was Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. Brian Cage making some really valid points. I will say that. It felt like more of a shoot from him, and Team Taz just kind of paint by numbers were the heels, because Brian Cage was talking about, hey, you cost me a title shot. Hey, you never really did anything for me. And hey, you gave me this consolation FTW championship that no one cared about. The hell are you? Why do I even need you?
Why do I care? Yeah. Yeah, I like this a lot. And you're right. I think I came away thinking more Brian Cage here when I had kind of checked out from Brian Cage out of all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, this was fun. This was a good reset for Brian Cage. Again, I think he's a guy, I don't know necessarily his in-ring ability, because I don't, you know, pay attention to the nuances of how his side tackle is and all that bullshit. But, like, he looks like a guy that should be at the top of your card. You know what I mean?
You don't, like, talk about how many times he did a triple spinning over his ball sack plancha dive?
Yeah. I'm not talking about how snug the headlock is and all that bullshit. That ain't for me. I'm a storyteller. Tell me some stories. Brian Cage looks like a guy that I want to see stories from.
You know, if YouTube didn't have a very tight limit on how many characters could be in the title of your YouTube video, the spinning over his ball sack, triple spinning over his ball sack plancha dive might be a hell of an episode name.
Yeah, keep it there in the back pocket.
Yeah,
you never
exactly.
know.
Right. I might be testing the character limits, but hey, you know,
do
what are you gonna do? You know, it's a hard work here we got going on.
Right. After the Team Taz promo, we got another promo. This was backstage next to a basketball goal. We had the Elite, which was the perfect amount of douchebag for these group of dorks.
For these
good
douchebags.
God. Yeah. But like, here's the thing. They're not even cool enough to be douchebags. They're too dorky to be douchebags.
Might still get a girl, right? But these guys are like, now again, in real life, I'm sure these guys have, you know what I mean? You know, but to be like, you're like, nobody even wants to hang out with this guy. At least a douche has some friends. Like these guys.
Well, at least a douche, you're like, man, I wish I had some of those qualities. Like what qualities would you want from Carl Anderson?
Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Right,
exactly. But like you look, but I mean, still, if you look at the Good Brothers, what traits do you want from them? Balding, and you can spin a basketball on your finger like you could in fourth grade.
Triangle Fu Manchu, right? Do not discredit their abilities to make a mean triangle Fu Manchu.
And apparently, Carl Anderson wanted us to know that he could spin a ball on his finger. Like we all couldn't do that in grade school. That is not an impressive trait, pal. Just like you think you're over, that you told me you're over. Yeah, bud. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm over it.
But it was good. Right. But I will say this. It was interesting that the Young Bucks, because I still feel like we're going to get the Hangman Kenny Omega story to be told at All Out or another pay-per-view, right? But I did like how the Young Bucks said, hey, who else is there for us? And they're not wrong. That's where I was telling you earlier. It's like, who is the babyface tag team that's going to come up and take the titles off of the Young Bucks right now? And you really can't say who that is.
I don't think there is. That's why it needs to be the Dark Order. God damn it.
Well, we'll see. Got some time. Now let's get back into the ring here. We get the Blade, who, man, I tell you what, I don't think he's moving mountains or parting the seas, but he is putting in some work as a singles competitor.
Yeah.
And he took on Christian. And I thought this was your standard, Christian Cage, grizzled old veteran gets the W. But this wasn't bad at all. I thought this was some fun.
I thought it was too. Yeah, I mean, I did not set high expectations for this, so there's that. But we've talked about this. I as much as we've been like, oh no, they're hiring more people from WWE. They've used these veterans right almost every
perfectly.
time. I can't think of it where it's been like, oh my, the Sting Snow thing right when it started, when it was like 8 weeks of like, it snows, Sting hits the ring, everybody runs, right? With that whole Team Taz deal. I think that was the only time we've been like, maybe they can do this a little better.
Repetitive.
Yeah.
I agree, because if this was Christian in WWE, he might be getting an Intercontinental Championship match at SummerSlam, right off the bat, not even winning a match. So I think he's being used great. Yeah. So now we get Christian picks up the victory. Then we go back to another promo. We get FTR and Santana and Ortiz, although this was Fat FTR 2, talking about how FTR 1 cut his arm open. I think we're getting another match, but I think the next match is going to be the last match. I think that last match was supposed to be it, but obviously with a cut artery, you're not going to end on that note.
Apparently it gouged out a part of his arm.
Jeez. And then they stopped the scene. They stopped the still shot of when it happened, and fuck. That was miserable.
Hey, don't try this at home.
No. Just
you
write
can try it
it
at home
paper.
because you don't have a ring hook, right? You don't have a ring rope hook there, so you're fine to try this at
Well,
home.
hopefully not. That'd be weird.
At home. Yeah, well, maybe you don't.
I know what you're into.
Ring ropes, hooks, and Singapore canes, baby. That's all. It's all in my dungeon down here.
Yeah, that's standard protocol for a pro wrestling fan and person with a gimp fetish. Anyhow, we had a in-ring promo next with Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. One thing I did like about this promo before we got into the actual promo is how JR was like, Tony Schiavone's ad-libbing those hugs. Like, he just gave him shit. I thought that was so funny. That was one of his best lines. He's just like, he's ad-libbing those hugs.
Something we didn't hit on was during the first match with MJF at commentary, Tony Schiavone's working himself into a shoot with MJF, and he's really starting to be like, you're a son of a, I don't fucking know, like, yeah,
and he might be right. Like, it might be like a legit feeling.
He at one point said he was like, you're the likes of which I've never seen, or something like that. He was like, you were just love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes.
MJF, again, is another great guy on commentary. We talk about Jericho being on commentary. Wouldn't hate it if MJF did a full-length episode either.
Anytime, and, hope this doesn't happen, but if MJF gets injured and can't go for a while, like, that's a perfect spot for him. Get him on there just hating on everything.
Definitely. But as we move back to the Britt Baker promo, she talks about how she's the champ. And, again, before she can even really establish what her, bullet points are, we get Red Velvet walks out, and she's like, bitch, red looks bad on you, and also I can kick your ass. And then Britt Baker, not being intimidated by that, was like, bitch, I beat you in 2 minutes last time. Who the fuck are you? And then Red Velvet again came back and was like, hey, I was enhancement talent. I was learning what I was doing around here. Like, I am way better than what you faced back then. And Britt Baker was like, so am I. Bitch, I got a title. I love this promo.
I loved it.
Because Red Velvet came with swagger and an energy that wasn't like, I'm going to be talking to the champ. And Britt Baker came with that, like, yeah, you're stepping to the queen. You know who the fuck I am? And so thought it was done perfectly well by both girls here.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think this is exactly kind of what the beauty of Dark and Dark Elevation are, in that these folks are getting to go out in front of crowds, and not just like the dark WWE does dark matches, but they don't necessarily put them in front of live audience like this to the point where they're putting it on YouTube every time. So it's not just this crowd that's seeing this, like, oh my God, we're going to try something that we can't let anybody else see. And I think it's done great for somebody like Red Velvet. And then you get to work them up into, now she's the #1 contender because she's won 4 matches you didn't see, but you know what I mean? Like, here you go. You know, if you didn't watch other things, but it almost entices you to be like, well, where did she come up from that? I think this is great. She's done a lot of improvement. And of course, DMD gets better nearly every time we see her.
Another thing that I like, and this was one thing I think we both criticized before AEW started, but the wins and losses, you know, how they're going to keep track of wins and losses. This is a good way to use that to say Red Velvet is, I think, what'd you say, 18-4 or 22-4, something like that. You can say that, and in kayfabe, that seems legit. And also, if you look at the rankings, which I know the rankings are, oh, all of a sudden we got a #1 contender. How did that happen? I understand, but again, it's pro wrestling. Have fun, right? Don't let a good story get caught with bad details. You know what I mean? But a top 5 contender is now challenging for the championship. I think that is a good, easy story to tell any casual fan. Because if you just say, hey, it's Britt Baker, your champion, taking on Red Velvet, if some casual fan is just like, I keep hearing about this Britt Baker from, you know, my nerdy pro wrestling fans, I'm going to check her out, but who's this Red Velvet? Is she any good? Just by proxy of putting a #5 or a #4 or even a #1 contender, the casual fan will then associate like, okay, she's taking on someone who is good. She might beat her, but this person is still a worthy challenger. So even though I think, you know, we were both on the same page, being skeptics of this, so far it's been turned out to be a good feather in their cap to use for storytelling. So I like it.
I like it. Hey,
all right,
you know what else I like?
Oh,
the
what do you
beer
like?
sponsor of the week. Now, once again, the beer sponsor of the week this week is our goddamn selves. Nobody gave us any money. If you want to be the beer sponsor of the week, if you want your name right here, then go to SpanishAnnounceTable.net. There's a PayPal link. You donate us a beer amount's worth of money, and tell us if you want a specific beer or you just want us to pick. Let us know, and then we'll tell everybody how great you are. You know, maybe, you know, some other fun stuff about you. SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Check that out. PayPal. Give us some money. We need money.
We do need
Beer's
money.
expensive.
I tell you what. It is, but it's also tasty, and we also like giving compliments, so please join us. Also, in future weeks, join us on YouTube, as a couple people are right now. You can also do that. But let's get back into the show. Yeah, of course. Right. Hey, you know, don't let the details get in the way of good story.
When they say there's like 2 viewers, they mean that in thousands,
right? Yep, of course. Hey, let's keep it going.
Right.
So, quick question for you, Tim.
Yeah. 9 inches.
Is Fuego de Sol the best seller in AEW?
God, he is
back-to-back weeks.
He looks dead when he sells. Like his noodle arms are like just like he just looks like you instantly like finish him, right? Just done.
Yeah, he does. Done. But he doesn't do it in a sense that's like
it's not Shawn Michaels flopping over the place. It looks like
exactly.
Legit knocked a motherfucker out and his lifeless, limp body fell to the floor.
Yeah, so let's get into the segment here. Andrade and Chavo Guerrero talk about how, hey, Lucha Bros, if you're not going to come work for us, fuck you. We got someone who will work for us, and it's Fuego de Sol. And instantly, Chavo Guerrero says Andrade needs his boots cleaned.
Yeah, he's like,
and Fuego's like, wait a minute. I did not sign up for that. And Andrade's like, you're not going to fucking do it? And he's like, well, what? And then before he could even say yes or no, whop, he gets a good old how's your father right to the bread basket and then just gets thrown into that sliding door or that steel door 4 to 5 times. And then the art of Fuego resting his unconscious head on Andrade's shoe, thought it was great. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fuego del Sol has been noticeable in that, like, he gets himself, he's on TV, he's getting a big time spot where we remember him now. So it's going to be this is the thing that'll turn you into a guy that people are rooting for now, right? If he picks up a win, we're going to be like, fuck yeah, Fuego, right? We're going to be like, Fuego. Yeah.
Love him. I do like him. He's really fun on Dark, and he was really a good crowd member during those pandemic era AEW Dynamites.
Yep.
So let's get into another promo after this one. And it looks like even though Lance Archer is your New Japan Pro Wrestling United States champion, he's still going to be coming back to AEW to feud with Dan Lambert. Here's what I'll say. I was trying to be optimistic, and here's my thought. Yes.
For you?
Because...
Like, optimistic for you.
I'm optimistic for the wrestling fan.
Anybody.
Because again, I think it's fun when you get the casual wrestling fan who's the big time MMA star to come in, right? You get the Jorge Masvidals, you get the Amanda Nunes. Dustin Poirier trains at American Top Team. He just knocked out Conor McGregor. You could have Dustin Poirier come into AEW. That's a big time get for AEW, right? And I hope that happens. However, I hope the real backup is a pro wrestler and also a former MMA fighter. I hope it's Filthy Tom Lawler who's coming to AEW.
Yeah, that I would not hate.
That's what I'm saying. That forbidden door is open. MLW, I bet, once in on this whole AEW.
Lawler has the benefit of, and I hope he never hears me say this, being charismatic, being good at pro wrestling, right? Being good at storytelling, and also being a guy that you look at and you're like, this guy looks fucking weird. And you like kind of can't take your eyes off of him. You know what I mean? Like Tom Lawler looks like you know what I mean? Just captures your
And he is.
Yeah.
He is. I've hung out with him many times. I think he's the funnest, weirdest guy in the world. He is great for one night out at the bars. You don't want to wake up with him like in a hotel room. Like, hey man,
you don't want to see that you stole a tiger together, right?
Right? Yeah, we don't want to have a hangover moment. But the night of, he's the best. Oh, he's the best. But he is a wild man.
You know who else
and he's
is
a good
great?
Wrestler.
You know who else is great? Once again, I'm going to shout out the chat. We got somebody who we haven't interacted with yet. Devin, it looks like, says, I think Alistair retired Cody. Oh, we're going to get there.
Oh, we'll get there in just a second. Yeah, so
welcome.
You just hold tight.
Welcome.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks for joining.
Of course. So, I hope it's Filthy Tom Lawler. That's who I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm worried about this, if I'm being honest. Yeah, look, this guy must have paid a lot of money to get on TV, and they've got to, you know what I mean, do whatever. But, man.
Well, I will say this. To his credit, he cuts a good promo.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't seem like he fumbles his words, and he doesn't seem like he needs a take two. He does it pretty well. I will give him that. It's not the worst casual.
As a manager.
Right. It's not the worst casual in pro wrestling history.
He's a guy you want to hate. He's got a punchable face.
Definitely a punchable face.
So do we.
Another guy with punchable face shows up in our next segment. But before he shows up, we have an interview in ring. Tony Schiavone talking to Hangman Adam Page says, hey, you need to clarify your comments. You broke our hearts earlier in this episode, and we need some clarification. And Hangman, kind of par for the course, he can't even get out what he was about to say. And the Elite comes out. There's Carl Anderson doing his middle school trick of balancing a ball on his finger like a fucking idiot.
Hey, did he say something about his hot wife?
Probably. I thought she was leaving him, though. Ha! Anyhow. Then you had the Elite and all that.
That's what she told me last week. Anyway.
And so we get our fun things, right? But we get a beat down. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. We get a beat down of the Elite on Hangman Adam Page.
A thorough beat down.
And right when you think the Dark Order is there to save the day, they run from the back. They are right by the ringside. And Grayson and Evil Uno pushes them back and says, guys, Hangman said he needs to do this on his own. Oh, Tim.
Your heart just aches for the Hangman.
What a twist. Last week we talked about like, oh man, they lost. What are we going to do now? Who knew we were going to get more of a layered story with Dark Order and Hangman? We thought this was going to be, more focused on Hangman and Kenny Omega / the Elite. And now we're going down this rabbit hole with the with Hangman and the Dark Order.
And I think now I think in hindsight, of course, this was the right move because the Hangman story has been this, right? Like he gets down on himself. He thinks he's letting his friends down. His friends don't think that. His friends just want him to hang out and be cool, be himself. But he doesn't like himself. And so he, you know what I mean? Like he just prefers, like, no, nobody needs me bringing him down. I just got to do this myself. And doesn't work for him when everybody needs a friend, man. Everybody needs a helping hand.
Everyone
can't do this show myself. I need a Friend.
Yeah,
Over
I need
there.
a friend too.
Right. Yeah.
You right there? I don't know what to point.
Yeah. I'm to your right. Yeah. You're to my
Right there.
right.
Yeah.
No, you're to my left. I don't know. Yeah, you're to my
Here,
right.
I'm looking at the live stream. See if.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow.
You're supposed to flip it.
If you right, well, if you're watching the YouTube live stream, or if you're watching this on YouTube later after we post it, you'll see what we're doing here.
But
check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, you got to check out the YouTube. YouTube.com/SpanishAnnounceTube. But of course, you can find every link you need for any of our stuff at SpanishAnnounceTable.net.
Now, I will say this segment was pretty darn good, except for we needed to change one thing up. So the segment ended with Kenny Omega saying, "This is the closest you're going to get to the championship." And then it hits Hangman in the face with the AEW championship belt.
Should have ended it there.
Poetic. Well, that's how it ended. That's how it ended, right? So that was pretty great. But before that, we had the Elite loser.
Yeah.
No, he sucks. And this is the thing. If you want to make him look credible, this is how I would have done it. Let me take you down a little bit of T-Mac tweaks.
First of all, before we get there, I do like that poor Kazarian had to take a couple, like, thrown basketballs his way. That was a fun spot.
Yeah, I like it. It was fun.
Chucking basketballs at him.
Yeah, take this for you.
How'd you get concussed? Well, I took a basketball to the side of the head when I was in my underwear play fighting.
Yeah. But this is how I think you should have done it. You should have still had Hangman get hit with the belt with Kenny Omega saying this is the closest you're ever going to get to the AEW championship.
And that's it's a great
moment. It's great.
The metaphors, all of it. Love it.
But then Frankie can come in and chase off the Elite. Like, they can be, oh, whoa, that guy's crazy, and just say, like, you're not worth our time, but then kind of have some fear in their eyes. Instead, it's another example of him coming out and just getting his ass kicked.
It's one thing if, like, he's the Elite Hunter. He'll never win one of these matches necessarily against the Elite guys, but he comes in with 2 baseball bats and a chain and can clear the Elite out for 20, 30 seconds to let somebody get out of town, right? Like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, he looks like a dumbass every time.
Hold him at bay at least for a few minutes, you know what I mean? Like, and then get consumed or get out of town. Ninja moves, right? He comes in, behind them, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3 are knocked out, and Kenny Omega turns around, he's like, what the hell happened to everybody? And then the Elite Hunter's gone, right? Like, that's way better, right? Like a sniper. He's the Elite sniper. Right, like he sneaks in when nobody's looking, and all of a sudden, fucking crowbar to the back of the head, and Mr. Asian Hot Wife is down on the ground. Everybody's like, what the hell happened?
Well, you know who he could learn some lessons from? Darby Allin's father, Sting. Sting used to do this to the NWO all the time, except for he looked strong. He didn't look like an idiot. So maybe we need to have a backstage segment with Kazarian looking at a picture of the Elite being consumed with hate, and Sting just pats him on the shoulder and is like,
an idea.
I think you need some help. Let me show you the way. And then we get that.
And we get Crow Kazarian.
Good!
Crozarian!
Frankie
Crozarian, that's the title.
Yeah. That's fun. I like that. That's better than what he's doing right now, because he looks like a fucking idiot right now.
Even if he did it tongue-in-cheek and became Crozarian, I think we would love that.
Yeah. And then Sting is kind of like, hey, man, I wanted to give you tips. I don't want you to rip off my gimmick.
Yeah,
he's like, well, it's working. It's working.
We didn't talk about royalties here.
But he's like, it's working, so I'm going to keep doing it.
But Crozarian doesn't even say anything. He just, like, mysteriously, like, backs out of the room and sings like, I can see you.
Yes.
Takes a mask off and it's just more face paint underneath. He's like, I know that shtick. I did that too.
I do that at 3 different companies. I know what you're doing. Yeah. Oh my God.
God damn, you've been watching that network for $9.99.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into AEW Dynamite Homecoming here. We get back into the ring and we get a TNT Championship match. Miro versus Lee Johnson. What did you think? I'll give you my thoughts after your hot take here.
I know we've said, like, Miro finds a way to still squash somebody but make them look like they had a puncher's chance, but I kind of wish they didn't do that.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. This should have been the Redeemer gets established. As much as Lee Johnson has a bright future, and like I said, check out that match with Danny Garcia. It is worth your time.
But he's not on that like precipice where like, if he just got to win over Miro or look strong against Miro, he could catch fire.
Well, and with Miro being the Redeemer and doing this whole like God has sent me for destruction and I'm so sorry to do this,
It needs to be brutal.
It needs to be destruction.
Quick and brutal. It needs to be like the broke your neck. Sorry, buddy.
And and again, if we're staying in this kayfabe world of, matches mean something here, I'm having a hard time believing in 2021 that Miro has a harder time beating Lee Johnson than he does Lance Archer.
Yeah.
That's when you need these matches a little shorter.
Hey,
and
maybe he didn't get enough motivation from a vengeful God and a double jointed wife this week.
I don't know, possibly. And did you catch JR there when he talked about Miro? He's like, this is the best he's ever looked. He's married right. He's doing the right things. He mentioned that he married right.
No, I didn't.
Just thought that was great.
I don't think
He was on one tonight, which he didn't do too bad. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Miro gets the victory. I liked how post-match he kind of cuddles with Lee Johnson, and then he takes the title and presents it to Jesus or God or whoever he's
God's
presenting
favorite
it
champion.
to. Yeah, but he presents it to him and just lays it down. That's a cool touch.
Yeah.
Because it's starting to tell a different story. It's not, oh, God has chosen me. I am boastful in the man.
It fits because, like Miro, Rusev, whatever, has always kind of changed a little bit about his character, but it's always been this idea that like he's full of himself, right? Like he thinks, and it's just kind of taken on this slight little modifications, and it's great. I love it.
But he's also using that, I think, by presenting the championship to God, saying like, I'm not hurting you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But to his opponents, it's this isn't me. This is coming from God.
God asked for this. Sorry.
Are you wanting to argue with God?
You were the sacrifice. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
This means good things for you. You were chosen.
Right. That's the fun part of the Destroyer. It's not just
because he could even
I'm the best in the world.
See, and like right now, this is how I would do it. He's strong. He's murdering people left and right. He's telling a few of them like, you were chosen. You should follow me and do as I do because I'm God's favorite champion. So he gets a few followers, and that's when he's like, when finally he meets somebody who can kind of give him a run for his money, and then he needs the followers' help, right? Like you could build off of this Redeemer thing, almost make it like a Jesus and the disciples. You know what I mean? Like just
well, and the first time he loses, just be like, well, that's not what God wanted. One of you have turned your back. Who is the Benedict Arnold? Right? Like who is the Judas?
Who is the Judas?
Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, Miro? Not the worst thing in the world. I'll tell you who I want Miro to go up against as far as a real feud. It's not Lee Johnson. Credit to Lee Johnson. He looked good. Shouldn't have because it needs to be more focused on Miro here. But after the match, we get a backstage promo with Christian, and it's announced that he is now the #1 contender. And he goes, well, you know what's better than being the best? Being elite. And so he's going to be at Rampage and Dynamite hanging out, and we might get the start of a Christian versus Elite storyline.
I think Christian, Kenny Omega, a match at like a big time Dynamite or something like that,
or a Rampage,
with the crowd hyped, is going to be great because we know Christian's going to lose that, but they're going to go hard. They're going to put on like a 40-minute great match.
Is this though? Because if you recall, when Jon Moxley debuted, it was right after a Chris Jericho Kenny Omega match. So do we get Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega, and then that's when CM Punk at the Rampage episode debuts, right?
Or is that Daniel Bryan's spot? Because I think we get.
Oh yeah, either one. Yeah, Daniel Bryan. Yeah, either one. But that Rampage show is in Chicago. That's why I said that. Right? It's in Chicago. Yeah, at the United Center. Yeah, right. So that's why I said CM Punk. But that's where you could do the match.
Mr.
The
Ball.
Chicago Bulls.
Lonzo, is it Lonzo?
Oh, Lonzo Ball got traded there. Yeah, good for him.
Million.
He sucks. Yeah,
$84 million
second overall.
suck.
Well, he's the second overall pick, and he's on his third team in 4 years, so I don't know how good he is. And that's a lot of floated, bloated, not real money.
Yeah.
But we can get into contract talk later. Let's get into now.
Go Chiefs. Different sport, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just go Chiefs.
We now get into the women must pose, because don't forget about them before the main event match. Maybe a little long-winded there. We'll come up with a better title. But it was
There's
Layla Hirsch.
Than that?
I don't know. Maybe not. But we get Layla Hirsch taking on the Bunny. Okay. I'll say
Layla
this.
Hirsch is legit.
Oh, she's cool.
And every time you see her, you're like, "Oh shit!" Like she could fuck. You think she could fuck her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Old time joke for any new listeners. Sorry about that one. Yeah, she looks like she could beat the shit out of anybody. Like she could hold you down, take your money, and, you know what I mean, end your life right there. So I never hate when I see legit Layla Hirsch on my TV, but you know, they're just, again, there wasn't a whole lot of story. There's not a whole a whole lot of inferred, albeit they did on this one give it, this person's going to get a title shot.
At the NWA champion.
Right.
Not the AEW champion. So hopefully, because it did intrigue me post-match, Layla Hirsch standing next to the NWA women's champion in the contrast of 6'6" and 4'11", it looked like. That looks fun, right? It looked like Braun Strowman taking on Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
I'm into that. I will say one thing that was of interest, or an interesting take that the producer did, is as Layla Hirsch is walking out, someone with a sign who must be listening to the show said Layla for Team Taz. And they showed this sign for a solid 3 to 5 seconds. And I was like, are you trying to tell us something? Because no one said that on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's watching this show, listening to this show.
And thank you.
By the way, stay watching this show. If you caught on, you know, halfway through the show or whatever, later on the show, we're going to play an interview that we did this weekend.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Cool dudes for the Dynamic Wrestling Federation, new professional wrestling organization starting up here in Kansas City. So all of our Kansas City listeners and close by, and even if you just love independent wrestling, you got to check out this interview. Stick with us later on the show for that. But back to this.
Oh, yeah, it was so much fun.
We had a blast.
Kind of went all over the place in the best possible ways. It was so much fun. Definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
but now let's get into...
It's about, for anybody, it's about their new organization and then just professional wrestling in general and fun stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So now let's get into our main event. It was Heaven versus Hell, Light versus Darkness. Malachi Black taking on Cody Rhodes. First off, what did you think of Malachi Black's entrance? Did you get a chance to really see what the hell that all was about?
That was a lot of stuff to be about. Yes, hey, anytime we can dress somebody up and make it look cool, this is the fourth week in a row we've had a themed, named Dynamite. Like, they'll start to lose their, like, I'm going to not remember at some point, like the fourth time. And didn't we just do an Impact Wrestling Homecoming? Is that why we're doing this? I don't get, like, Homecoming, you already had, 3 events in front of crowds.
Well, but this is the Homecoming coming back to Jacksonville, because they
true
consider
that, right.
Jacksonville their home because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
The names are whatever. It's kind of just, I'll take it or leave it.
My point being that, like, I want those at special events, and this was a big fight, so it fit here, of course. But hey, just as long as it doesn't get too long of an entrance, right? I don't need an Undertaker entrance. I don't need 4 look-ups from Finn Balor.
Yeah, I agree. But he looked like the goddamn devil with the horns and all the other stuff. Kind of gave me the willies. Got little chill bumps on my arm. And then Cody comes out. And
did you get a little sweat? Were you like, whoo?
Yeah, a little bit.
One of these, whatever you guys do there, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, holding my Bible.
Are you Catholic or something? Or you're
no, I'm not Catholic. I'm Christian.
Anyhow, you don't do this thing, right?
No, I don't need to touch my body.
You're like, I touch my body.
But here's the thing with this match is it was cool when they did it with Brody Lee.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is if you've paid attention to the AEW Dynamite or AEW in general match history, they've only done 2 squash matches. This is the second squash match that they've done. in a main spot. I'm not talking about dark or, elevation matches when it's John Moxley takes on 0-6 guy. Not that. I'm talking when it's two legit people in the ring. But this is the second time now that they've done a squash match, and the first time involved Cody, and the second time involved Cody. Yeah,
Cody, do you have shitty pre-fight preparations?
So the theme, if you were to say that this is, real and in kayfabe, the two themes that I'm taking away from Cody is he's a bad friend because everyone turns his back, or everyone turns their back on him. And two, he gets too big-headed and he's not focused on matches.
God damn it, Tom.
What?
Cody's friends that turned on him. Cutie. We fucking forgot to get Cutie's waiting in the queue. We forgot to fucking interview QT Marshall again.
But it was because of the Dynamite. It was because of the...
Sorry, but I know I told him he reached out and was like, dude, you guys are going another night.
But here's the... We were like, here's the thing. It was
QT Marsupial is he's our favorite, our biggest fan, and he really wants to be on the show, and we keep forgetting, and I'm sorry, Cutie.
Quads and Traps will get you on soon. Again, the reason is because we usually do this on Thursdays, but because I'm going to the Foo Fighters, we're doing it on Wednesday. We got our wires crossed. We'll get to you soon. I promise. Quads and Traps, quick trip. We'll get to you. We'll get to you.
Quick time marsupial.
There it is.
Fucking, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fucking... factory thing you got going there.
Yeah. Factories, factory workers.
Yeah.
Sport unions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right? That's the whole vibe of the
factory owner, or are you the factory, the union, solidarity, brother?
We'll find out. We'll find out when we ask him in our interview with him. Here coming up soon. TBD. But what did you think of the main event? So, again, it's a squash match. We'll get into his post-match speech after your take, but as far as the match itself, were you shocked? What was your feeling?
I guess I was, speech with, coming up. I didn't understand that this was like a goodbye Cody moment. So I thought there would be a match. I assumed Malachi, Alistair, whatever the fuck we're calling him, was going to win. So that was just, I again was like, oh man, we're going squash match. I guess they really are going to buy in on this Malachi Black character.
Yeah, and that's good, right? Because that's what we always complain about is if you're going to debut them, make them look strong so that they're a viable contender.
God damn, do I sound like that?
No, but I'm okay. Here's the thing.
Are you trying to make me feel better?
I am. I will say this, though. There needs to be a little bit of break in the action, right? So, like, you know how in WWE land, we get hometown guy loses in his hometown,
Yeah.
That's how it always is. In AEW, we don't have to have every guy that debuts or girl that debuts with your company look like the next title contender. It's okay. Have them say like, oh, this place, now I'm here, and then lose and be like, wait a minute. Are these people actually fucking good? Like, you can tell a different story other than, I am Conqueror, And that's what we got a little bit with Malachi Black is, I am Conqueror, watch me fuck everyone up. And it's like, okay, but we had that with Miro. And before that, we had that with Lance Archer. Before that, it's like, so I can, but it's like, break it up a little bit, right? Break it up.
I agree.
So now let's get into this post-match speech from Cody Rhodes. He goes into some diatribe as if he's been a Hulk Hogan 37 years in the business type of thing. Brother, love you, love you, love you. And I guess he's trying to retire. And this is when I like Malachi the Black the most. He comes back in. He's like, no, go fuck your mother. I'm hitting you with a crutch. You ain't gone. This is about me. This ain't about you.
Yep. Getting a heel to the skull, baby.
Yeah. So what'd you think of the speech? And then what'd you think about Malachi Black coming back and saying, fuck that?
I like that the speech was interrupted because I was sitting here thinking the same thing. I was like, look, dude, you are not Shawn Michaels and Edge and Ric Flair here. Like, I understand. I know there's a lot of people that like AEW that liked whatever the Bullet Club and all that stuff that happened in Japan. We weren't watching, super big fans of that. So, like, he's a bigger deal than those people. I'll give him that.
Yep.
But I didn't think even to those people that he was, like, an all-time great. I thought they thought, like, this is the guy now, right? Like, this is the guy right now, which I guess, okay. So maybe as I'm talking through this, maybe I see if, like, the guy right now, if Hangman Adam Page was like, hey, I got to retire, I'll be like, oh, man, shut, God damn it. You know what I mean? So maybe, I guess, but, like, I wouldn't think that he would go on this, like uber crying, you know what I mean? Like, I just tried to do it for my daddy. Like, look, we get it. Cody Rhodes has had I'm going to say it, an annoyingly, like, jumping back and forth over that line of, like, don't call me Dusty Rhodes' son, and, like, I did it all for my dad, but this is about me. I'm Cody. I'm not Rhodes, but I love my daddy. It's like, hey, man, fucking pick one and go with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's always bothered me a little. But Cody Rhodes has been, I've never thought he was like, oh my God, he's amazing. I've always liked him since he's been out. I thought the Stardust thing was unique when he did it. I agree with him in the action that he took of, like, fuck this, they're never going to let me be anything but that. I'm going to leave and do something else because I don't owe myself to them, which is great. I loved it, right? Loved all that, and I love what they created with AEW. So if all of that, to me, I guess, as I talk through it, that does seem worthy of, like, a, hey, but Cal Ripken send-off, right?
But here's the thing. Okay, that's a perfect analogy. Cal Ripken send-off. Cal Ripken played 2,000 plus games.
Yeah.
Cody, I don't know his age off the top of my head.
20, right?
But yeah, I'm going to bet he's 32, 33. Again, we don't fact check here.
Younger than us, right?
Right. And so that's where it's like, unless you have a real injury, which he didn't allude to, right? He didn't say, I have a neck injury, I have to hang it up. If that's the case, I totally get the speech. But he was just saying, I have outside interest. I'm glad for what we built. It's time for me to move on. Well, two things there.
Even if it was like a, hey, we've got so much talent. I've got a kid. I don't want to risk it. Look, we're going to make the thing. You know what I mean? Like, even if it was that. You know what I mean?
No, that was...
Or even if it was like, hey, it's time for me to be executive vice president. I think we've got a crew. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? If he was like, I'm retiring. I'm done.
No, because it's not believable. It's not believable because the next CM Punk or Daniel Bryan that comes in, you're going to want to wrestle that person. So that's why if it's not a legit injury and you're not 60 years old...
I don't believe it.
Don't fucking do it. Yeah, don't do those speeches.
Even Shawn Michaels finally gave in.
Right. Now, God dang it. But he didn't even, he did do the speech the next night on Raw, but we were prepared for that. That was hey, let's celebrate this career because now we know it's over because he lost the match. To your point.
But I mean, he came back and did the match.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm saying as far as that, the night of and the speech, it made sense. To your point, tonight, we were not given any indication that this was a retirement match or that Cody needed to win to stay relevant.
Like when he was giving a speech, it was just kind of like, why are you acting this way? Like we were kind of led to be like, wait, are you leaving? Like what's going on? Right?
Well, he took the boot off, right? So he took the one boot off, and what you do in pro wrestling is take your boots off and leave it in the ring. What you do in MMA is you take off the gloves, you leave it in the cage.
Right. It's like you're hanging them up, right? It's like
so you're hanging them up.
Right.
But again, with no story going in, it kind of comes off as weird. But then you get thrown in.
It's like, hey, the Dark Order's already dealing with this with Hangman. Maybe you should talk to them. Like, you don't give up, man, just because you lost once. Okay,
exactly. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Just have John Silver start doing his guns and poses, and then you're good.
Cody, we believe in you, buddy.
What if? How much fun would this be? Okay, so then let's get to it. Malachi Black.
This is why I love our conversations, right? We booked the whole territory just fucking picking up holes in the stories.
Yeah, so Malachi Black comes back before Cody can take off his second boot. He hits him with the crutch, and he's like, this is my moment. He doesn't say anything, but you know what he's saying. He's like, if this show's ending, it's ending on this fucking weird eye. Look at me, motherfuckers. I'm the star. What I like is your idea there is next week or 2 weeks, right? Let's give Cody some time to recover. How much fun would it be if Cody walks up to the Dark Order and is like, hey, I hear that Hangman wants a break. I am kind of down in the dumps and need some friends. What do you say? But then if the Dark Order is like, no, we're not a paid friend. We're not a rent-a-friend. Like, you got to earn our friendship. And then that's what turns Cody heel. It's like, you don't fucking think I'm good enough? You don't think I'm good? Everyone should know. And then he almost does like the Seth Rollins character, where remember when Seth Rollins is like, I'm here to save Monday Night Raw. We will rebuild Monday Night Raw in my image. Cody can then go around, especially with the Dark Order to start, and be like, no. All the success is because of my hard work. Guys, do you not realize what I've done for this company? And then everyone's like, hey, man, you're kind of being pushy. And then he turns heel. Because we haven't got a Cody run as a heel in AEW. This could be the start of it. And then how much fun would it be if you steal a little bit of the Bray Wyatt character and you make Malachi Black be the type of guy where when you touch him, you change. Now, I'm not saying you go babyface to heel to babyface, whatever it is, but just something changes in you every time you come up against
All
Malachi
of your
Black.
Friends are like, dude, what?
Right.
You never, what?
Look at that. Snaps. Look at this. Dead Poets Society. Yeah.
Dead Poets Society.
Woo. Yeah.
That's what flooded your brain. All right, I like that. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. Yeah. Hey, look.
What'd you think of the episode? Let's kind of recap our thoughts here.
The whole idea is like, if you thought this was like, oh my God, this was the big like moment for Cody, like this is the finale. Like, no, you just left me with more questions. Like, did Cody return? And maybe that's it. Maybe it's like, I was gonna, but now I'm not.
Right.
Because of you. I am a real American. Wait, sorry. Is that the wrong thing? That's the wrong thing. Anyway.
Is it though? Is it with him?
Is it though?
Because he has so much. He's bullshitting. He is bullshitting so much because he has so much that he's even said that he wants to do. One, he hasn't done anything with Sting. Remember when Sting kind of put his arm around him and was like,
you called it years ago on this show with Mark Henry's retirement. You said, I can never trust another pro wrestling retirement ever again.
Never. Yeah. Never.
An in-ring pro wrestling retirement I will never trust again.
Never. Never. And you can't do it better than Mark Henry. That's the other thing, is Mark Henry should have been like, what are you guys doing? Hey, I did that. No. Rewrite that shit. Guys, they're going to think that you can't compare to me and you can't. So like, get the fuck off. That's what he should have said. Hey, I missed that in our recap, though, real quick before we move on to other things. It was announced that our Rampage announced team, at least for the first episode, is going to be led by Excalibur with his best friend, it seems like, Taz, which you can catch on AEW Dark, then Mark Henry, and then Chris Jericho. Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I understand. I don't like 3. I think 2 is best. It's great. That's great. By the way, that's another quick thing I want your feedback on. If you've been paying attention to Dark and Elevation, they've been doing almost like a carousel of commentators coming through. So they had David Crockett. Then they've also had Eddie Kingston sit in. They've had Ricky Starks kind of pop in and out.
Yeah.
I think they've also had there was someone else. But what do you think about this kind of, hey, if talent's not going to wrestle, then they're going to start calling matches?
You know what I mean? I don't hate it. I also noticed that I was muted, so you may have missed what I said there, but it was all fun. Check out Dark and Elevation if you missed it. Taz is funny. Yeah, I like that. That's great because it's also, as much as it is dark and it should be wrestler's practice, which is essentially what Dark and Dark Elevation is, it should be for the commentating team as well.
I think Elevation, they're starting to tell a little bit more stories because, for example, Lucha Bros got a victory on Elevation and Andrade came out and was like, hey.
And listen, I think I may have made the decision that, like, I'm just not going to watch Monday Night Raw and I'm going to watch Elevation instead.
Oh, yeah. Brother, did that weeks ago. Especially now that Eddie Kingston's on commentary. Anything Eddie Kingston says is 10 times better than a Charlotte promo.
Even knowing Elevation is like hey, this is not televised. You know what I mean? Like, this is just...
Yeah, still way more fun.
Still better.
Still way more fun. Because, like I said, they're starting to sprinkle in more stories. When Lee Johnson... The way that Lee Johnson got this match against Miro for the TNT Championship was he had to win the match on Elevation.
Hey, listen,
so
we're not going to go through a full recap of anything WWE. We're going to talk some subjects on that and tweet the table. But like, this is one of the worst Raws I ever had to sit through. Ever.
Go to one. To one. It's worse.
It was so bad. I watched it probably over 20 times. Right? Like I watched some as it started. Went back to later, and every time I could no longer get more than like 10, 15 minutes at a time before I was like, I can't, this is fucking bad.
What data, I know we're not going to cover it in depth, and that's totally fine, but I just want to know, what data are they seeing that tells them the story to run with on your longest show is Charlotte versus Nikki? I'm not going to say her fucking initials. That's stupid. But why do we think that is our main event story?
I don't know. But as we're off of that, AEW Dynamite Homecoming ended with a retirement. What'd you think of the show as a summary?
I thought it was a tad underwhelming for their high standards, right? Like if this was a Monday Night Raw, this is the best Raw in 30 years. No, not that long, but 20 years, right? But for the high standards that AEW Dynamite has, especially coming off of the Nick Gage, Chris Jericho match, I thought this was a little bit conservative. I think maybe they were drinking their own Kool-Aid thinking that this Cody retirement speech was going to move mountains. And I think they thought maybe a squash match was going to shock people. But again, you did it with the same talent twice within a year. So it's not that shocking. Kind of makes you look repetitive. So I would say, it's fine. Yeah.
You know what I would say? Stick with us through this show. We're going to have a great interview with the folks from the Dynamic Wrestling Federation here in Kansas City. Also, we're about to get into some fun, a fun part of the show where we talk to you, the fans. We let you have your voice heard. And we do that through Twitter with hashtag #TweetTheTable. By the way, follow us on Twitter at Table Show. You can find that link at SpanishAnnounceTable.net. And it's very simple. You use hashtag #TweetTheTable. Put in your wrestling thoughts, and we're going to read them right here. And I picked out, because of time concerns, got the interview, I picked out the 3 best, Tom. The 3 very best, right? Oh,